the topic of co-creation. What does co-creating means and when building a brand in the business?
Co-creation is, I think, essentially creativity. Like creativity is collaboration. Anything we make, build, create, shape.
We talk a lot about creativity today. I want us to talk about the third and most important point.
Third and most important point about creativity is that creativity is not just something that we do. It's a way of being in the world.
Hello everyone. Our topic for today is co-creating the brand, the business, and the dream. Learn from Pia how she uses her creativity to help her client co create their brand and business and dream. Today, she will share three key points, and I would tell you the third point is the best one. I want to welcome my guest, Pia Mayo Lister. Welcome, Pia.
Thank you so much for having me, Will. Excited to be here. I
Looking
love your
forward to have a
background.
great I'm looking forward to have a great conversation today. Let's kick it off with a quick introduction.
Sure. I'm Pia. I'm half American from New York City, half Canadian from Montreal, but I live in Copenhagen. So that's usually a mouthful. I am a founder of Collective Studio and also creative partner, or sometimes I refer to myself as a creative midwife. So what that means is I creatively partner with visionary rebels, unconventional dreamers, and inspired misfits to bring their wild visions and ventures into the world to create an impact.
I'm really excited about your introduction. Let's now deep dive into the topic of co-creation. What does co-creating means and when building a brand in the business?
Well, co-creation is, I think, essentially creativity. Like creativity is collaboration. Anything we make, build, create, shape is done in collaboration, in partnership with other people. So, and with life, I would say, if we want to expand it even larger, we're also co-creating with life. And so when we create a brand, for example, it's not only what we define, especially if we're in a company, the brand is created also through culture, right? It's not only
Mhm.
what we say the brand is, it's what we do and how we behave that shapes the culture and definition of a brand. So that's in a more corporate setting, but also widely, a brand is co-created by the people who assign their own meaning to
Yes.
the brand. So we might say the brand is X, but how do people feel about the brand? And how can we also listen and then incorporate those insights and thoughts to co-create a shared definition, shared purpose and vision and meaning for the brand and business that we are in constantly building?
Well, that's excellent expression of it. Can you share a moment when your brand or business started and aligned with your dream and then over time it strategically shifted to do something else?
Oh, that's a great question. When I launched Collective Studio, I worked in creative agencies for all of 15 years during my career, working as a creative director, a creative strategist, and copywriter. And I had this itching thought at night, that would keep me awake like a mosquito bite that said, what would happen if you channeled your creativity into building your own damn dream, your own business, right? Your own thing.
Hmm.
And I ignored it for a long time because I was afraid, because I didn't know what was on the other
Hmm.
side. Like I knew what I had, and what I had on paper was very good. So anyway, the dream was to channel my creativity into building my own. And that was beautiful because it was not so specific that it was easy-ish, not easy. It's more simple for me to achieve. It just took the courage for me to leap. So my mother passed suddenly in 2021, and she gave me a shot of courage in the sense that she reminded me that life is finite. And with that reminder, a month after, I quit my job and launched my business, because if not now, when? And so in many ways, my dream that was it, like the dream of creating my own. And then I think our dreams change and shape shift. So it's kind of like I'm co-creating the business and my dreams as I move forward. And I see with all the amazing people that I work with and all the opportunities. So I'm not sure if it strategically just aligned at one point and then everything made sense, but the dots definitely did connect after 2 years of being in the business. So I feel like I'm continuously co-creating and aligning.
Well,
Not really
thank you
good.
for sharing your story because I think that's an important message for people to hear. That if you're in a particular role or job that you're doing, it doesn't mean you need to be there for a long time. If
Mm.
you have a dream or passion, you could take the leap of faith and do it. And I realize everyone had their different trigger or time to move on or do something else. But the reality is, as you mentioned, time is limited. If you don't do it now, when? That's exactly what you said.
Exactly.
I think that let's talk about the first key point that you want to share today. Let's talk about that first key point. Why is that first key point really important to share with our audience?
Well, the first key point is a lot of people go, I'm not creative. I'm not the creative type. I
I'm
can't
one of them.
draw. Well, you see, so I'm going to challenge you. I mean, creativity is not solely artistic expression. I think what blocks our creativity is the belief or idea that we're not creative. Creativity lives in virtually every domain. I remember doing research for my book, and even in an academic article, it said even crime. Like, yeah, and I thought, oh yeah, not that I'm advocating it, but yeah, crime is actually really creative, So to say creativity is in how we solve everyday challenges in novel, unique, sometimes delightful and useful ways. And we're all creative. If you're a human, you're an artist at work. You were born creative. It's how we're wired, how our brain works, how we survived as a species. So I think we can all smash that myth that creativity is reserved for the chosen few. That means then we have to step into it, our shoes, the big shoes, to have the courage to create what we're really called to create. And that's something else. So I kind of answered my first point. I changed it around a little bit. So my first point
No,
is that
that's a very good point. As you mentioned, creativity is not just for people who are really artistic.
Mhm.
And when I was young, I loved drawing. I draw a lot. So I always tell people I'm creative until I realized I couldn't create new things like on my own.
Mm,
And then that's where I felt I got stuck and I shy away from I'm creative because I'm very good in drawing. I want to be an architect at one point. But my parents said, no, you're not smart enough. You just go do business. Study business so you could graduate
wow.
college, but don't even think about architecture. It's really hard to be an architect. It's hard to pass. So it's like just go business. That's what's best for you. But I didn't do business. I went to accounting. I took path, a different path because I said not that there's anything wrong with the business. I just thought accounting would challenge me more. It ended up being
Mm,
accounting, but I had a transition point somewhere in high school where I said, "Well, I'm not creative because I couldn't create new things, but I could draw really well."
mm.
And that was really where I got stuck. Where does creativity starts and where that it's blurred to you're not creative because I couldn't create new things.
Oh, but I would
Does that make
argue,
sense?
yeah, it does, but you are creating new things. When you're drawing something, that's a new thing every single time.
That was funny to say because when I draw, I actually either saw something that I'm drawing, but I don't create new image. It's like I'm a
Mm.
I'm a I'm a photocopy machine. I felt like I would see an
Well,
image and I would
yeah.
remember it. I would draw it, or I look at a picture. I'll draw it side by side, but never to a point where I would create like a. I have a lot of friends who love now that they call it anime. I call it cartoon. When I was younger, I could draw the cartoon from my memory, but I couldn't create a new character. I didn't have that extra to say let's build or create new character. And my friends they could create new characters.
But what's interesting, what I'm hearing you say is there's already a definition of creativity that you're creating for yourself. The definition of
Yeah.
creativity is being able to draw new characters. But
Yes.
that's a limiting idea of
Oh, it is.
creativity, right?
I
Well,
did.
think about it. What, because creativity is also you. So the particular anime or cartoon character that you remember, that you choose to draw, there are thousands, but
Yeah.
you pick one. One stays with you. There's one background you choose. So it's like there's something unique about the choices you make
Mm.
and what you choose to create. Creativity
Interest.
can, right, it can be much bigger than just creating a new character. That's one version.
Very interesting point. I didn't even think about that.
And that was really the original first key message, was when we get closer to who we are and what we really want to create, and what moves us and what triggers us and what drives us, it's going to naturally be creative. Because one definition of creativity, it's original, it's unique, it's
Yes.
novel. And there's nothing more original than you, Will. Like, there's no other Will Luke Hang in the world. Do you
I
know?
hope
So
not. I hope not.
not like you. And that goes for everybody. And when we're in touch with sort of our authentic nature and we express from that place, it's bound to be creative because it's original.
Thank you for explaining that, and now I understand it a little bit more. That okay, I could say I'm creative a little bit more
Yay.
than I was before. But let's go back to the topic we're talking about: you co-creating with someone or a business. What are the lessons you learn in trusting the process?
There's different ways of answering that question. One, it's also trusting the relationship. I think
Mm,
trust is
key.
fundamental, key between people, so that we are at eye level. We trust each other's point of view. We're not trying to compete or win, or it's really, we value each contribution. We're open to getting feedback, and we're open to kind of, I'm going to use the word play, playing together, seeing, okay, what might it be? And we develop, that kind of safe conditions to courageously explore and create. And I think that trust is really important, that foundation. And then there's also trusting the process. We don't know what we're going to create when we sit down to make something, right? Otherwise,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be very creative if we
yeah.
did, right? So we have to be comfortable, entering the unknown or the uncertain, and letting go of an expectation, which is difficult, of what it needs to be or what the
Yes.
outcome needs to be, and just trusting and enjoying the process. We get to enjoy creating something. And so I think that's really important to co-creation, is trust not only the person you're co-creating with, but the process itself, in the sense of, hey, I don't know, let's see, let's roll up our sleeves and see how it develops. Let's let go of the expected outcome, because maybe there's something better that's going to come through.
So my follow-up question is: you talk about trust being one of the key ingredients. How do you build that trust with a new client? You don't really know them that well. Is there like a process or a technique you use in the early part of your working relationship to build that trust?
It's a great question. We can also use, I like the safety is also an important word, and it's
Yeah.
connected to trust in many, many ways.
Psychological
So,
safety.
yeah, exactly. So, how to create sort of a safe container
Mhm.
to explore whatever the client is looking to create. One thing comes with confidentiality. It might sound obvious,
Absolutely. I think
but
that's
it's
key element in my opinion. Same thing with
ab-
coaching. That's the
exactly,
first thing first few lines we say every coaching experience is this: every conversation we have today is confidential. It's between you and me. You're free to express.
exactly.
You're free to express your thought and ideas.
100%. So that's like number one. If there's nothing else that I do, it's that. Like, this is
Mm,
a space to freely express, and it's what's happens in this space stays in this space.
yeah.
And then building trust is also a sense of not removing judgment and inviting curiosity in. And that's a felt sense by the other person. Like, I'm not here to judge your ideas. I'm here to get curious about them and curious about you. And I'm also reflecting. There are many parallels with coaching. Right? I'm also channeling and reflecting what I'm hearing you
Mm,
say and offering it back at you. And so oftentimes, also when building a brand, it's really getting under the skin of like the vision and the
mm,
mission and the values and the impact and the audience, like, listening to that, the founder or the mission driven executive, and being able to really drop in and hear, ask powerful questions, synthesize, and then channel. And then I bring in my copywriting skills and brand strategy to be able to express that uniquely. But it's through what I've heard and the
yeah.
tone that I've heard. And then the best result is when my client, or I like to call partners as well,
I
confusing the
think
client.
partner is the best.
Isn't it nice? Me
Yeah,
too. I
it
think
is.
it's
It
the
is.
best. So when partner says, that's exactly it. Like that's what I've been trying to say, or I've been trying to articulate and express. Fantastic. Then it's not about me. It's not about me trying to impose what I think is right. I will provide a good challenge if something comes up, and I'll interrogate it in service of the work and the brand and whatever it is that we're looking to build. So I think it's, confidentiality, listening, being able to reflect back, ask
Mm.
powerful questions, and then have fun when we're dropping judgment, because
I
ideas
think I think that's
choke.
extremely important.
Absolutely, because that's how we choke our creativity, whether we're creating quote unquote by ourselves or with other people. Judgment comes in the room, creativity shrivels up. So making it a judgment free zone. Sorry. Yep.
Yes. I have a follow-up question on that one. At times when you work with someone who's seeking your service or your help, they tend to want to just give everything to you and say, "You help us." Instead of a collaborative approach, it tend to be like, "You drive it. You tell us what we need to do. We share all this key ingredient like our mission and vision, but you create the rest for us." How do you change their perspective to shift from, "Hey, you create for them," and or build the co-creation, because at the end of the day the magic happens in the co-creation, right?
Well, it very much depends on the client. I mean, there's some clients that I have creative coaching journeys with. So maybe we're co-creating, a vision of what it is that they're really looking to do. And then some clients, I'm more in the creative
Mm,
consultancy area
mm.
where they might do that. But then I do synthesize what they give me. And the co-creation comes after I present it. So I present it
Okay.
back, and then I create facilitation sessions where it's like,
Ah,
let's look at this, because it's much easier for people to feedback and to co-create when they have something to feedback on, generally.
I love that point. Excellent. That's spot on. In a world that's full of our uncertainty, let's talk about your second point.
Mm.
How do we build the capacity for uncertainty?
The answer is simple, and like most things, by practicing,
Mm.
by doing it, right? And uncertainty, there are different ways of building our capacity to be in uncertainty. One way, and this is not necessary for everyone, but it's one way, it's the way that's worked for me in terms of getting my muscles bigger, is entrepreneurship.
Mm.
Because entrepreneurship is uncertain. We
It's
don't
very hard
know.
to.
We don't know what's
I'm
coming next,
traveling down that avenue right now, so I know.
right? Right? And so we have to decide, okay, I don't know what's coming, when it's coming, how it's going to look, what it's going to be like. How do I want to be with that? Do I want to be a hot, anxious mess, worried, working overtime to try to create something solid? Or do I want to lean back and trust myself in life? And it takes time. When I first launched Collective Studio, there was anxiety present. Like, this is my first time launching a business. Like, how am I when's gonna survive? What's coming in? What is it gonna look like? And then after a year and a half, suddenly it was like, oh, I'm actually okay. The anxiety lowered. Like things changed. It might sound like a long time, but I wasn't. That's how it went. And now I'm much more okay, I don't know, but I trust that it's going to come. Things are going to come. It's going to happen. It might not look how I expect it to look. It might look very different. Isn't that the excitement of it all? So I think you build your capacity for uncertainty by putting yourself in uncertain situations and seeing that you're going to be okay, that it's okay. Things have a way of working out, not by being risk averse and staying in certainty or safety that might no longer feel like it fits you, that you're there just for the safety. Another way of doing that, simpler than, quitting your job and starting a business, is by doing new things. It's really fascinating. By doing something new. Doing something for the first time is inherently uncertain. You've never done it before. So
Yes.
it could be, for example, I took a surfing lesson when I went to Bali. I've never surfed in my life. And I remember being on the board and the instructor is behind me and he's like, stand up, because he tells you when to stand up when the wave
Yeah.
is coming, you know? and my body just wouldn't move because I was just like this because I was afraid, and I was able to become aware of my fear and go, oh, what am I afraid of? How interesting. Like, it's just water.
Mm.
It's just waves. What's, oh, it's because I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what's coming. I've
The
never done it
fear of the
before.
unknown.
Exactly. So the only way to overcome that, and this was a very micro example, was to I kept going on the board until finally I stood up, like hunched, but I got up and okay, it's not so bad. It's okay. And then I did it again and again and again. And it's no longer uncertain because I know what it is. But if we don't try to get up off the board, and if we don't try to do new things, we're not going to build our muscle to our capacity to be in uncertainty. And the reason that's important is because uncertainty is the realm of knee knocking angst. Yes, that,
Yep.
but also infinite possibility.
Yes.
Anything is possible
Yep.
because everything is unknown. Anything can happen. And wow, isn't that a very vibrant, alive place to exist in the world? That's where I want to live in. And so that's why, to me, that's important.
As I interpret it, it's just like that's where the magic happens.
Exactly. Exactly. And I want to live a magical existence while I have one. I don't want to be clutching on a rock, not letting go, afraid just because I know what the rock feels like. I want the current to take me. And it's a practice. It's a lifelong practice. It's not like, oh, I'm here, because there's always something. If we're growing, we're always moving into something new and uncertain. But if we build our capacity, then we can move into even bigger spaces and have more magic happen. That was
Wow,
point two.
inspiring, very inspiring. Since your superpower is creativity, how do you sustain that over time? What's your secret? Maybe not tell me the magic, the secret sauce, but what allows you to keep that enthusiasm and passion?
Well, it's something that I really enjoy doing. So it doesn't feel forced. But what's a really, it doesn't feel like I'm forcing myself. I love writing. I love expressing, connecting. Also, this is also a co-creation, by the way. We are
Yeah.
co-creating right now. So also, when you have a more expansive view of creativity, you realize that you are in constant creative response to life. And it's quite
As
beautiful.
as there's a saying, if you love what you do, it doesn't look like a job because it's
True.
something that you're passionate about. I guess I could relate to that one because I love learning and I always spend time at night learning, and people often ask me like, don't you get tired? Don't you want to go get some sleep? I said, no, I'm not. When I'm learning and I'm doing something or editing video or things like that, I felt I'm energized. I felt like I had the second battery pack that I plugged in. All of a sudden, I'm ready to go, and I don't know how and why, but it's just that it's like a switch.
What if that's something that's wired in you? Like that's a part of your DNA, learning and discovering. And now that you're tapped into it.
It's interesting, right? Because when I was a lot younger, I wasn't into learning. That's why my
Mm,
parents were so mad at me. Not that I'm a bad student. I get like 84, 80, 85, 86, 87, up to 89, my grades. But I get hundreds too, but not like my sibling. My brother and sister, they're in honor rolls. They get 100. 100 is like this. I get 100 every so often, but both of them we get 100. But in my family, because my parents came from nothing, they believe that education is our ticket to a better future. They index on that really well, and I totally understand that. I totally understand. As I grow up, I realize, understand, it wasn't good when I was growing up. I went through so much, but once I become a young adult, I understand where it come from, and I have no resentment. I was perfectly fine about it. I said it's part of your journey, it's part of your DNA that you were called stupid, you're not smart, you're not gonna be successful because you're not like your sibling, and I realized that I'm okay with it because that's part of my journey, and I learned to cope with it and understand. And then when I became an adult, that's where I had that like yearning for learning. I don't know why.
mm.
It's like when I hear a lot of people say, I'm done with once at college, I'm done with learning. And I was like the opposite. No, there's like a vast sea of things to learn out there. I want to learn it. And they're like, are you nuts?
But here's what I'm hearing. You can take it or compost it, or let me know if it lands or
Yep.
doesn't land. when the pressure or the definition of learning was 100%. That's what I'm hearing. If
Yeah.
you love learning, you get 100. That was what I heard you say, right?
That's expected. Not even a pressure, it's expected. And
Okay. Is that
if you
not
don't,
pressure? That expectation?
it becomes a pressure as I get reprimanded and I get beat
Yeah.
up if I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I end
So
up having anxiety just to sit for a test.
there you go. There you go. So in those conditions, your natural inclination for love of learning become choked.
I
That's
didn't
what
even realize that. I didn't.
I'm
I didn't
hearing.
even realize it. I just felt like the bar is high, and I could reach the bar every so often. But maybe I could reach it 4 out of 10 times, but not 10 out of 10 times. And the sixth other time, I just sat in for the test, and I just felt so anxious that I'm not gonna get 100. I'm gonna get yelled at again.
Yeah. So imagine what that does to your love of learning. Imagine the
Well,
impact.
what was interesting, I didn't have the concept of love of learning until much later.
Yeah,
like
but I
like even now I could say I love learning. Like I could tell you, but when I was younger, I couldn't tell you that. Like I know I need
I
to
get
learn.
I guess what I'm hearing is maybe that love of learning maybe was
Yeah.
always present, but wasn't allowed to grow in the conditions that you might have been put in because there was a definition that learning equals 100. That's one definition.
Yeah.
Is it harmful? Is it helpful? I don't know. It's up to you to
I know.
decide. The other one is learning. It doesn't matter what the grade is. It's about how excited you get and how you
And,
contribute and how you share. If you get 7, maybe the 10 means you're really good at taking tests. I mean, you know
and
what I mean? And then when you were an adult and that got removed, it was like, yeah.
and to a certain degree I agree with you because as I became a parent, I pivot my concept of learning for my children. It's
Hmm.
all about the effort,
Yeah.
right? And
Beautiful.
thank God, my two daughters, they're as smart as my wife. They're doing really well. And I don't know if whether the way I pivoted from grade
Mm,
focus or
mm,
effort focus, because I believe you could do certain things so easy, but doesn't mean you're really good. You put in the effort. And I
yep.
want everything we do in life is about effort. It's about the intention. Similar to
Yep.
this channel, this YouTube channel is about discovering a better version of self. Like I
Yep.
will aim. You aim to do the best you could every day. As I had my own children, I said I'm going to pivot toward effort
Mm.
and commitment. And then I think that looking at both of them, my eldest graduate college in May, going to grad school, and my younger one
Fantastic.
is going to be a junior in college. They're both doing really well because I
Mm.
never asked them about the grade. I always asked them. My eldest, I remember when she was a lot younger. One time she came home with an 85 and she was crying, and I don't know why she was crying, but she's like crying. I got an 85. The first time I got 85, I said, "Well, the question is, did you do your best?" And she said, "Yeah,
Mm.
in this particular case, I did my best." And then I'm fine with it.
There you go.
I said, you don't get 100 every time. I said, we
Uh,
don't get 100. In fact, when you grow up, there's no grade. When you finish
no.
college and you go to work, there's no grade.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you an A. They're
No.
not. They're just going to tell you did a good job or you
I
did a
think that's
phenomenal job.
a beautiful and powerful and encouraging lesson that only opens up sort of to more learning, to more desire to learn
Yeah.
in that environment, in those conditions. So I think that pivot is so important.
Well, thank you for taking me there.
Mm.
You co-create. You helped me co-create that
See?
part of it
There
through
you
that
go.
conversation. We talk a lot about creativity today. I want us to talk about the third and most important point about creativity.
Third and most important point about creativity is that creativity is not just something that we do, right? It's a way of being in the world. So, what I mean by that is, I remember I've worked as a creative director for most of my career. And I grew up with my dad's an artist, he's an abstract painter. So, even ever since I was a kid, creativity was just something that we did. It was something we did. And it's also that it's something that we
Hmm.
do. And so, for a long time, that definition continued in my own work and in life. And then when a series of events, when everything felt like it was going wrong in my life. I got divorced, entered an unhealthy rebound, started building a creative studio with two other partners where I just gave everything I had to it, blood, sweat, and tears, because nothing felt like it was working. And then I got fired. It felt like life just put the brakes on the car that I was driving way too fast. And I went through the windshield and looking at the on the ground at the shards of my life, I had decisions to make. And instead of staying and looking for work and having anxiety and powering through a relationship that wasn't working, I had this voice, which I later recognized as my intuition, that said, go on the Trans Siberian. This is what you need to do. You need to just break from doing what you're doing in the same way. So I went on I'm getting, this is related to questions. So I went on the Trans Siberian and it was amazing. It reminded me that of course I was going to be okay alone. I've been on my own since I was 17. Why did I start to think I wouldn't be? That life is magical and full of adventure. I had so many amazing moments and I've met so many people and I felt really supported by the world. And it reminded me of the awe and adventure of life again. I had forgotten. And three, as I was sitting in the steel rail, like the steel car, hurtling across Siberia, looking at the landscape, it smelled like sweat and sauerkraut, a Russian man drinking vodka in a tank top, punching a steel wall. It was a whole scene. And I sat back and I thought to myself, wow, wait a minute. I creatively directed this scene right here. I brought myself here. I made this happen, right? I chose my costume design, the set design, the scent, the score, everything. Producer, editor, writer, protagonist, all in one. And it was a profound realization that creativity is not just something I do. It's a way of being with life that I get to creatively direct my next scene every day. And so do you, so does everyone. And so that's really the invitation, also behind my book and my work, is to remind people that you're born creative. And not only is that creativity something you can use to make and build whatever it is you want to build, business to art, but you can apply it to the design of your life.
Wow, that's super inspiring and magical. I think with that, I think I'll end the episode at that high note. Thank you, Pia, for being my guest today. It's been a great honor to have you in my podcast, and hopefully, all the listener, you love what Pia talk about. Like and subscribe and connect with Pia. If I just want to give you one more opportunity to let my audience know how to reach out to you.
Absolutely. Collective.studio is my home base. It's where you can find out more about the work I do, book a chemistry call, find out more about the book I wrote, which is called Welcome to the Creative Club, sign up for the newsletter, all different ways of staying in touch or meeting me. And I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you.
Thank you, Pia, for your time and have a good day.
Thank you for having me, Will. It was wild.
You're welcome.